Welcome everyone to this L4M6 revision event. And today I will talk about the most challenging parts of L4M6, or the parts that receive capillary misunderstanding. And I want to help you to straighten them out and have you to dig a little bit deeper into these topics. So we will look at a few topics here. So we don't have the time for the whole module revision, but just a few key topics. And I hope that better understanding may help you to score higher in the exam. Also, this is the first revision event in 2026. So I wish that you have all the success that you deserve in this 2026. And let it be a year that transforms yourself. Now, let's look at what we had today about L4M6. First, I think this one is pretty familiar, but sometimes it could be confusing. That is about the relationship spectrum. Here, as you can see, I use an illustration about the spectrum. The spectrum originally is about the a range of colors that constitute the white, and you can see them as a rainbow. Okay, actually, after rain, then the sunlight go through the water vapor, so the light the white light break down into several colors, and this range of color is known as spectrum. When we talk about the relationship spectrum, we also talk about a range of potential relationships that we may establish with our supplier. And in the spectrum, we have a lot of relationships. You can see that we have capillary about 10 relationships here, and we can select any, or we can apply any of these relationships with our supplier as long as you see appropriate. But in the spectrum, it has a rule. When we move from the lower tier relationship to the higher tier one, then there are some changes in trust, communication, risk, and reward sharing, and other aspects as well. Furthermore, there could be a few type relationships that deserve certain attention here, like about the arm's length, bespoke, single source, and partnership. So we don't treat every supplier the same, but we distinguish them and apply different relationship with them. So first, when we talk about the relationship spectrum, I would like to refer to a model by Cips from 2023, and you can see this one. You can see this graph from study guide as well. We have about 10 relationships, 10 types of relationships. Okay, I don't count them specifically, so I just make an assumption. We have pretty low tier one, like adversarial to the higher tier, and we may have pretty close relationship with the supplier, like co-destiny or the partnership. In essence, each of these relationships have different names, so they have different capillary mechanism and bonding between the supplier and buyer. And as a buyer, you can negotiate or transform or establish the relationship with supplier in any form or any type you want. We have these relationships from adversarial to arm's length to transactional, moderate, bespoke, single source, outsourced, strategic, collaborative, partnership, and co-destiny. So along this spectrum, then you can see that we have higher level of commitment between two parties, and also other mechanism as well. For example, like communication or trust. With lower level relationship like adversarial and arm's length, we don't trust the supplier, and it's the same on the other side. So we may rely more on professionally drafted contract to manage that relationship. But moving on higher tier, like partnership, then we trust the supplier more. So actually, we don't need to have that lengthy contract document, but actually we can kind of like invite them into a common meeting or regular meeting, or invite them into some high stake project like new product development, or joint operational management, etc. So that is higher level relationship, and we have higher trust here. And to demonstrate how how to differentiate between different type of relationship here, I would like to take a few examples. So let's talk about arm's length. It stays pretty low in this spectrum. Okay, just above adversarial. And you can see we have adversarial, it originates from adversaries. So adversary looks like rivalry or competition. Therefore, in adversarial, actually the buyers gain at supplier loss and vice versa. Therefore, here in adversarial, it kept like pretty one time, low value, and we try to get our best from that relationship. Okay, so it pretty kind of like opposite interest facing each other. With arm's length, then as the name suggests, we keep a distance with the supplier. We keep a distance with the supplier. We keep them at the arm's length, not too close, not too far, but just at the arm's length. So with this relationship, it is about a supplier that we use infrequently and have one-off or short-term contract, and each party acts independently. Each party acts independently. It means that each party manage their own operations, and they just care about the common issues based on the contract. Okay, so that is arm's length. Moving on, we have transactional, a little bit longer, but still based on each transaction, not in details. Then we come into moderate. Moderate means maybe a long contract, and somewhat we have some collaboration, but not much. And then we have bespoke. The word bespoke here suggests something. First, bespoke means customization. So with this relationship, we may need to have some customized product from supplier, and the supplier, we can invite them or ask them for ideas in their offering, and we can select the supplier based on the performance specification and the request for proposal process. So at this level, then we may collaborate a little bit more with the supplier about the specification, and they may give us some suggestions, some innovative idea about potential products that may fit our needs. Furthermore, with bespoke, because they are providing the customized product, so it is not easy to find the alternative from the market. Therefore, at this level, then we tend to have higher switching costs. Now, move up a ladder, move up a step, then we have single source. Single source means here, this supplier is somewhat special. Although it is not the only supplier in the market, but we decide to just buy from them exclusively. So this is about buying from one single supplier. Although there are other alternatives, because we want to maximize the economy scale or rely more on their reliability. They have high reliability, so we want to contract with them. And however, this may increase our dependency and also high level of trust between the buyer and the supplier. But this is not the ultimate relationship. we may still have other more collaborative relationship like partnership. At this level, then of course, the supplier is very special and it may be even more special than a single source. Here, at this relationship, then we collaborate more, not just based on the contract, not just on operational issues, but on the planning on strategic levels, and we may both parties may manage the operations together with different um, with different mechanism. So here with partnership, then we can apply more advanced techniques, more advanced measurement techniques like just-in-time and lean or agile principles, and also the yeah cross yeah cross advertising, cross marketing, and joint operation. Each party may have access to the to data of the other party, and we plan together and execute that plan together. So at this level, then it is pretty high in the collaboration, and it may create a huge synergy for both parties. All right. So distinguishing these relationships is pretty important, and we need to understand what to do with each supplier. In the exam, then you may see a few questions about the relationship spectrum, especially about the change in trust, the change in communication or risk and reward along the spectrum. The higher it moves, then of course higher trust, higher more frequent communication, and kind of like fairer or more equal relationship, more equal risk and reward sharing. Now, let's move on the second topic about the market structure or competitive forces and competitive strategies. About this part, you can find it from part 1.3 in the study guide. And however, it is not very well understood by many students, so I decided to have you on this topic. First, when we talk about the Porter's five forces model, I'm not talking about a model to analyze the supply market, but in this L4M6, it is used in its original sense. The Porter's five forces model is a model to analyze the industry structure and identify the five competitive forces that shape industry structure. And then from that, each business in that industry may shape their own competitive strategies. Okay, so these two topics are interrelated. Therefore, I combine them into one. So we need to understand the five forces and then how a business may adapt to these five forces. This can be quite strategic to a business, but as procurement, and if you want to become an important part of the business, then you need to understand this and how procurement may contribute to that strategy. In L4M6, then we can link between this and the supplier relationship in a way like with competitive strategy, we need to have the synergy or collaboration from supplier. So the linkage or collaboration with supplier is a part of competitive strategy as well. So they introduce this here as a part of the study guide. As you know, in the five forces model, of course, there are five forces. We have the competitive rivalry, that is the competition among the uh, current industry players. We have the threat of new entrants, that is the potential of new business in that industry. So when there could be more business to join that industry, then it may increase the competitive tension and also keep the price not to rise. And then we have the bargaining power buyer. When the buyer understand or when they have the power, then they may try to get the best from the market. So we cannot rise the price as we want. We have the bargaining power of the supplier. The supplier here is the industry players suppliers. It means like for that industry, there could be some supplier in raw materials, supplier in services, and also the employees. The employees themselves are supplier as well because they provide their labor to the business. And if they have some dispute with the business, then they can rise the cost. For example, as you can see, for airlines, then the employees could be a huge asset, especially for certain positions like pilots. So pilots has pretty high leverage with the business here. If they protest or if they don't want to collaborate with the business, with the airline, then no plane can fly. Okay, so they have the bargaining power here, and that can shape the cost and the price of that industry. Finally, we have the substitution, the threat of substitution. Here, it means that if there could be some substitute products in the market, the buyer may switch them as long as they see those substitution more valuable or more economic than the current offering. So together, if we read original Michael Porter's writing, then you can see that these five forces shape the industry profitability by limiting the pricing power and or adding cost to the competitor. With the bargaining power, supplier, if the supplier is strong or if they have more bargaining power, then they can increase the cost to the business here. So they may receive thinner profit margin. And on the other side, when the buyer has more power, they may try to negotiate with the business and reduce the pricing power of that business. So that is limiting the pricing power. So the five forces here shape the average profitability of the business. They shape the profitability of the business. And to become better than your competitor, to outcompete your own competitor, you need to have better than average performance. You need to have better than average performance. First thing is not to compare apple to orange. You cannot compare a manufacturer with a retailer. You cannot compare a natural resources miner to a logistic provider or to a bank. So we always compare different business within the same industry, bank to bank, miner to miner, logistic to logistic, or manufacturer to manufacturer. Okay, so we always compare the business in the same industry. And second, if you want to compete them, if you want to have better profit margin, then you need to have better competitive strategy. Having no competitive strategy means stuck in the middle. Stuck in the middle. Okay, so that is a link between the five forces and the competitive strategies. So we have three competitive strategies. We have the cost leadership, we have differentiation, and focus. We have three competitive strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. For cost leadership, it means that the business must offer the most cost-effective solution in the market, and that solution could that solution may not they may be basic and only meet the minimum standard or minimum expectation from the customer, but it must be the most cost effective. And within this strategy, the business may offer no free service or product. Okay, they may offer no free product or service. Okay, so this word means nothing special, just the basic one, and that's enough for the customer to select you, as long as your price is competitive. With differentiation, it is about creating the different product that serve the customer in a better way. Okay, so we can create the difference in the brand, in the services, in the quality, in the durability, and other matters. As long as you can provide different service or quality service to the customer, you can solve their pain point, then they may buy from you even at a premium price. However, with differentiation, then the cost is still a major concern. So with differentiation, then the business may still apply the same approaches with cost leadership to ensure that the cost is not overcharged, and the customer may receive the best product or service at still quite acceptable price. And finally, we have focus. Focus here is to target a single market segment. With both cost leadership and differentiation, we aim at broad market, or we can broaden the competitive sphere. But with focus, we try to narrow them down. Here, in a market, we can separate into several market segments. It is a small portion or a niche of an industry. Each segment or each niche may be defined by the customer, or can be defined by the product features, or can be defined by other aspects. But normally, different business often, or marketing guys often target the niche market based on the customer demographic or based on the geography region. Like the products for Africa must be different from product for Asia and for Europe. So that is customization. And in the world, because it is so big, so it leaves a lot of niche market for different customer. For each niche or for each market segment like that, the business may offer cost leadership or differentiation in that niche market. So based on the customer perception and the market prospect, then the business may make different. They may make different offer. They may create different offer. Okay, so all of these things are interrelated. And in the exam, you can see that they also have some questions about competitive strategies and, of course, the 5 forces. We may still see certain exam questions about in which circumstance the buyer or the supplier may have higher bargaining power. Or in other cases, they may ask you to identify the key features of cost leadership, of differentiation, and focus. Having deep understanding of these topics may help you to ace those questions, even though sometimes they use like slang or more difficult terminology. Okay, but it is still doable. If you read others, if you also read other documents, other materials about these topics. Next, I would like to talk about supplier identification and supplier appraisal as far as the selection process. So I think that this is quite familiar, and also it kind of like procurement everyday task. So I just have a few notes here. Um, we have some differences between public sector and the private sector. So for public sector, they are required to identify. They are required to identify and select the supplier based on very strict selection process. First of all, for identifying the supplier, they must go through certain portal or certain website that are certified or recognized. In Europe, then they have the official journal of European Union. Okay, so that is the main source of identifying supplier. Or in your country, for example, then you can see that the government may have some website for supplier to register, and they may seek the contract opportunity there. But for private sector, then they have more flexibility in identifying supplier. They may select the supplier based on the previous relationship. They may select supplier based on their own database of supplier, or they may search for supplier from the exhibition, trade show, social media, and so on. Here, as you can see, private sector tend to have more flexibility. And second, with the um, with the way to select a supplier or to contract award. Here, I need to edit a little bit. I didn't want to contract supplier. Okay, so here, for when we want to select supplier, when we have a contract opportunity, then we need to select the best one from the list, from the market. So the best one here, we often tend to compare the price altogether. Here, there are different processes for you to identify the best supplier and contract with them. For more simple contract, then we have the request for quotation, and for high value contract, we can select between open tendering, restricted tendering, and negotiated tendering. For public sector, then they are required to maximize the use of competitive tendering, if, even it is open or restricted. And for different case, then we can select different process here. When we compare between open and restricted tendering, then they have a key difference. First, open tendering require no shortlisting process. So when a buyer publish their information online, then any supplier can submit the bid. It is suitable for the contract that has precise specification, and we also have apply less risk of contract performance. So we can accept a supplier that we never know. On the other hand, we have restricted tendering. So with this process, um, the buyer does not publish the contract opportunity directly on the internet, but they may publish on they may publish an request of interest or an expression of interest, and then the supplier may express their interest, and then the interested supplier may go through the selection process, the vetting process. So through this vetting process, the buyer may send out the pre-qualification questionnaire and make a short list of supplier. And then the buyer send the um, tender document to the suppliers only, to the supplier only. There could be a few ways to make a list of supplier, like going through the shortlisting process, or we can handpick from the database as long as we work with them before and we trust in their credibility. In public sector, of course, they have stricter regulation. So the shortlisting process here must uh, before before going through the shortlisting process, then the buyer still need to publish their expression of interest or EOI. They still need to publish their call for interest, for example. So so that the supplier may expect that, and we can gather a lot of interest from the market. In the shortlisting process, using PQQ, using pre-qualification questionnaire is not the only way. We can also have other way to shortlist the supplier. Pre-qualification questionnaire could be done from an office, and it could be quite cost effective, but we can also vetting the supplier through the supplier visit. Like we can go visit their site directly and check on our note, and also whether they have the sufficient facility to carry out the contract or not. Or we can kind of like do our own research, but this is not very applicable since not every business publish the information online. So that research may not return a positive outcome. We still need to collect the information ourselves through the request for information or through the direct visit or in-person visit. Now, let's move into also pretty challenging topic that is about cost modeling. In L4M2 and in L4M5, we already familiar ourselves with cost analysis, but cost modeling is another aspect. It is another level, and it can be used in analyzing the cost movement and the preparation for negotiation or preparation on collaboration with the supplier. Here, we not just study about the cost element or what can create the cost for the product, but also the cost driver. Maybe about what price could change, or what can be the level of change in the price in the future, and make our own prediction. So first, we need to distinguish between cost driver and cost element. The cost driver is a factor that may drive the cost up or down. First of all, the logistic or the fluctuation in raw material may drive the cost up or down. So we need to focus on those factors, and we can predict what can change in the future. On the other hand, cost element is only a static part of the cost or of the product that contribute to the total cost of product, and it is just a slide of time. It is just correct at a point of time. So you can analyze the cost analysis. You can do the cost analysis of product at a point of time, and it is only applicable at the point of time. But over time, the cost change, the price change, so everything change, and the cost driver is ultimately what you need to analyze to predict the movement and future trend. Okay, so let's have an example here. For a smartphone, then it has also it has a price. Of course, every product has a price, and the price of product is created based on the cost. So we have the screen, mainboard, battery, case, everything, every part, and the labor. They are the cost elements. They create the cost of that smartphone. But when we do the cost analysis, it is just a snap of time. It is just a snapshot, and we know the price of each element at a point of time. Over time, we need to understand what can change. So we focus on the possible cost driver here, or possible factors that may drive the cost change here. The cost driver could be capacity utilization. In other words, whether they use their own capacity, whether they leverage the economy scale. The higher they can leverage, then the lower the cost per unit. Or about the learning curve, whether the supplier is professional or whether they have dedicated processes to manufacture this product, and whether they have the experience in doing that, whether they can apply the innovation and so on. Or we can think about productivity, about their process, about the machinery they apply, and the logistic costs. All of these are the cost drivers, and they can affect the price in the future. So we can predict the movement of the cost. For cost modeling, it is a pretty challenging part, and it is also a high-level analysis a procurement can do. So it requires collaboration and a lot of data from different stakeholders. We cannot do it on ourselves, but we need to have the collaboration and the input, the data from other stakeholders. So first, it's just like any other project. First, we need to understand what are our objectives and who can be the key stakeholders here, who can contribute, who can be the key players, who should be consulted, who should be informed about the cost modeling process. Second, we may collect the data about the suppliers. Maybe our stakeholder, maybe internal stakeholder they may have some insight about the process, about the material, and so on. And then we need to identify the cost elements and potential drivers, and we can build a simulation that may assist in predicting the change in the cost and then improve. So for cost modeling, then we try to imagine about the potential cost and potential change. So we focus more about the cost drivers, not just the cost element. And the cost driver here is about the rate of change in the cost, or about the reasons that the cost may change. Okay, in the exam, you may see a few questions about this, and they may mention about the cost driver and cost element. Remember that cost modeling focuses on cost drivers, not elements. And finally, let's talk about the partnership. So, partnership is a special relationship that we can establish with our supplier. And however, not every partnership relationship is the same. You may read the study guide and also with their references. And then you can see that they also connect to other reading materials like the paper from University of Ohio. They also have a part about different type of partnership between Taiwan, Taiwan, and Taiwan. So not every partnership is the same. For type one, that is project specific. You can have a big project that may last a long time, or maybe considerable time with the supplier. So you need to collaborate with them and focus on a few operational matters. So, for example, when you are a real estate developer, then you need to contract and collaborate with a few contractors. So these contractor could be your partners for a time, and that is project specific. That project may be supervised by a few departments like by legal, by the operations, by procurement, but not by the whole company. And it rarely involves the senior management. And the performance here majorly based on the project only and not extend beyond the project. So still largely rely on the contract. We have no long-term commitment here, but only on the project. Um, Type 1 could be applicable when first we have different project. We have a huge project that require collaboration from a supplier. And two, we may want to have a pilot project to collaborate with the supplier before we make it a longer term commitment. Moving on type two, then that is longer term with multiple project and maybe a dedicated team, a dedicated cross-functional team or cross-organizational team to manage or overview that those projects. It may have it may have joint operation. However, the measurement here is still measured. Sorry, the performance here is still measured individually and not by a joint KPI, but each company um, still measure their own performance. Type 3 is, of course, the highest level of collaboration. So here, it involves senior management. It involves joint planning, joint operations, higher risk and reward sharing, and maybe complete transparency. Now, it's kind of like both companies consider the other side as their own. So it's kind of like a merging operation. So the partnership here, both sides of the partnership here, uh, measure the performance overall, not just measure their own performance, but a combined operation. So it requires pretty detailed data and operations. Okay, so it is actually a framework by Professor Lambert from University of Ohio. So it could be quite vague or ambiguous. And in reality, then we rarely have a chance to have a high stake, high level relationship like this. However, then these are still guidelines and You may use some part of these guidelines to collaborate or to negotiate with your partner, your supply chain partner, and make it more collaborative. But to create a partnership relationship, we should have the strong drivers and strong facilitator. Remember that partnership is pretty important. So the driver for the relationship and the reasons to create this type of relationship should be strong and should be special as well. The partner deliver each other some advantage that normal market condition may not provide. So the partnership driver here is, the partnership drivers here are the potential reasons, or they are the compelling reasons that may push both parties into the partnership. So you should ignore the common reasons for partnership. In partnership, then there's no driver known as focus more on core business. In partnership, we only work with the supplier because they deliver something, they deliver some competitive advantage, and it improves our core business. So with the drivers, with the partnership, then there's no driver known as focus more on core business, or focus more on cost saving, or focus more on economy scale. But they try to improve the cost efficiency. The cost efficiency here is different from cost saving. Cost efficiency here means like even with the same cost, but we receive more benefits. Okay, so that is efficiency. We don't try to compress the cost, but we try to maximize what we have. That is efficiency. Or we can try to improve our offering, our service, or try to gain the access to a new market, or having marketing advantage. Or for the supplier, then they want to have the profit stability and a reliable customer. The facilitators are the elements that make a partnership easier to establish and maybe strengthen the partnership in the future. So for two businesses, then even though they have compelling reasons to create a partnership, but they still need to have a facilitator or supporting factors like the proximity or their closeness geographically. The two businesses should not be too far away, or that may disrupt the communication. And they should have similar culture, or they should have similar size, so that they don't have any asymmetry in power. With an imbalanced with an imbalanced relationship, then of course it is not called a partnership anymore, but it tends to be more adversarial or arm's length. Both sides cannot build trust to each other because one party has very huge leverage on the other. So that is imbalance. Therefore, with partnership, then the two parties should have symmetry, they should have proximity and suitable culture. So in the exam, when they ask you about the drivers for partnership, please don't select anything like focus on core business or cost saving or economy scale. Instead, the drivers here are something bigger and serious enough for both parties to establish the partnership. So rely on this one. Okay, inside the guide, they have the same content. All right, so that's all for today. And we also offer some special code on our practice question, that is Happy New Year 26. All right. So when you apply this code, then our test will return to the best offer, currently $9.99. And if you have any further concern, remember that we ready to support you on WhatsApp, on email, and of course, this recording will be uploaded to our website. You can visit en.evocumen.edu.vn and you can select the past event recording. And we have a full list of the most recent revision event like this. All of them are free of charge. Okay, but with the practice question, then we spend our time, we spend our effort to create many practice questions for you. So we charge a small part, and I hope that they may help you more ready for your next exam. Okay, thank you very much for your participation and see you in other revision event from Evocumen. Thank you and goodbye.